Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to Roots and Reason podcast. This is Preston. Just want to make a kind of a short video today because of one of the impetus to starting down this channel was seeing things from kind of cross generational perspective. Me being middle aged, half century old, staring down both barrels of 60 soon, that kind of a thing, and having a co-host who's just starting out and starting life afresh. Everything is ahead of you, and the perspective of that I think is just kind of interesting. But anyway, today I'm kind of doing this one here a little bit solo, but I just wanted to bring up something here that I caught the other day. Let me go ahead and pull up my screen here, and I got a good laugh out of this. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, this guy Asmongold is, I guess people call him right wing. I don't really see him that way, but he does certainly seem to be a Trump fan. But he mentioned this thing here, and I'm going to show you kind of a little brief thing about it. Of there is this kind of strange war that goes on where a lot of the Zoomers out there, and even millennials, have this visceral hatred for all things boomer. I mean, and the whole term boomer, you remember the meme of the young girl out there, I forget her name, some Twitch streamer or something. Okay, boomer. Um, Personally, I lean into it. What am I going to do? I am that. Um, but at the same time, there's just this kind of a visceral hatred. It's almost like a Greta Thunberg, how dare you steal our future and all this. Well, I want to kind of go over this a little bit. So let's go take a look at this. Let me just play a couple minutes of this. All right.
Yes, my answer is tough shit. Just like your generation's answer to millennials and Zoomers who are unable to get a job, buy a home, and start a family and save for own retirement was tough shit. This is your karmic reckoning, carefully curated from the moment you abandon the unwritten obligation every next generation has to leave the world in a better place. This is a very, very common sentiment from young people, that they have a huge resentment towards boomers and older people for not relinquishing some degree of control over the economy or not making the economy better for them to grow up into, right? They fucked us, exactly. You stole our jobs, stole our houses, you stole our pensions, you stole our rents, you stole our futures, and you made the world indefinitely worse for us in every single way. Also, you could have a boost to your portfolio and spend historically unprecedented 20 years at the end of your entitled lives sitting on the beach in Florida. You know why millennials and Zoomers don't care about what's happening right now? It's not because we think we'll make up for it later. It's because you've already accepted that we'll never make it up. This is a normal day for us. This has been our reality our entire fucking lives. LMAO. Welcome, enjoy, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, skip the avocado toast, and print off a few resumes. That's right.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. Let's go take a look at the actual thread where this actually kind of took place. Now, this Tim Wise person, I don't know who he is, and folks, don't go chase these people down and give them a hard time. You could see by his opening statement, for all you MAGA cultists, doesn't matter because 20 and 30-year-olds have plenty of time to make up losses. Anyway, you can kind of see where he's coming from. Now, what I'm looking at here is this young Zoomer who, by the way, has interesting views on things. You want to talk about, we'll just call it interesting. Let's just leave it at that. Now, she's making a point here, like your generation's answers, unable to get a job, buy a home, et cetera, telling them tough shit. And this is karmic reckoning. Now, this person's stating that from the moment we abandoned the unwritten obligation every generation has to leave the world a better place than the next. Is it an obligation? I don't think it is. Should you do it? I imagine if you're a parent, you would want to. Is there an obligation to do it outside of your own kids? Don't know. That's an individual thing. What I want to get into here is, though, you stole our jobs. Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. I was down in Florida working for the amazing sum of, like, I believe it was $4.25 an hour, pushing a 36-inch deck snapper mower around an apartment complex. Took us like 9 hours just to mow this place in the Florida sun in Tampa. I stole your job. You weren't even born yet. I stole your house. I grew up in a house that was 1,200 square foot with 4 brothers and sisters with a single mom. What did I steal? No, my shit shack here on the mountain in Tennessee in the middle of nowhere. I paid it off by working sometimes 2 jobs, working in a place like AutoZone for an extra 20 hours a week. I drove a 91 Jetta that I had to work on as often as I drove the damn thing. Got like 40 miles to the gallon was all I could afford. Uh, my old boss and fellow coworkers would laugh. They called it the cursed hearse. Uh, Church last year, and I feel bad for doing so because I swear the thing was cursed. I stole your pension. I never had a pension. I had 401k. I had to put in whatever I wanted, and then the company would match a little bit. I stole your rent. You weren't born yet. I stole your future. I made the world infinitely worse for the Zoomers in every way. I did? Holy shit. I didn't realize that by trying to struggle through life, I was making the future of other people's kids so terrible. Holy hell. Now, boosting my portfolio? Absolutely. You kidding me? I spent an enormous amount of time studying, watching the fin space everywhere, of YouTube to wherever. I spent countless hours going over things like financial statements from mining companies for things like copper and bauxite. It's boring. It's tedious. Why? Because the little bit of savings that I had squirreled away, I'm trying to leverage my investments as best I can. Do you think that I'm sitting here sitting on a pile of 5,000 shares of Nvidia? You're kidding me. Yeah, do I want to boost my portfolio? In fact, it's getting to the point now where it's time to kind of roll out of some of this because you get at a certain age, you better not be in stocks. Way too risky. That's all I got left to live on until I'm dead. So I'm supposed to live the 20 years at the end of my entitled life on a beach in Florida? Are you kidding me? Again, I'm on my shit shack in a mountain in Tennessee. You know what I want? I want a little 14-foot aluminum John boat to go take my $100 fishing rod and reel and some tackle and spend a day with my dog floating down a river trying to catch crappie. Um, God forbid that is destroying your futures. What kind of place are you living in? What kind of car do you drive? I bet you $1,000 this person right here has a phone that probably cost about as much as I spent on my truck, which, by the way, is over 20 years old to this day. Now, I'm doing a lot better financially, but I still have habits that I grew up just with. I mean, I had grandparents. I sat at their feet and I listened to stories about what was life like during the Great Depression, and they were pretty well off. They would have chicken once a week. Once a week. That was it. That was the big deal. Holy cow. I learned from a very young age, especially growing up in the 70s, there's this thing called stagflation. Guess what, guys? We're probably going there again. Okay? I hate to tell you that. No matter what you think of Trump, you think tariffs are going to fix stuff. Trump's plan is at best a 10-year shot down the road. They're not going to be building factories overnight. Takes years. Takes years to train young people the skills to be able to go in and operate a modern, technologically sophisticated plant. This doesn't happen overnight. Get used to it. You better learn how to squeeze a quarter till the eagle screams. You better figure out a way to learn how to cook beans 37 different ways. You better know how to, if you have to, go down to the dollar store or the Walmart and shop on the cheap. Avocado toast. Are you kidding me? I've never had avocado in my life. But yet I'm guilty for the destruction of the futures of all the Zoomers or those like me. Now, the thing is, this person is only partly wrong. Um, you can't blame boomers. Boomers were living their life the best way that they saw fit at things. Do you think anybody's consciously sitting there in their 30s and 40s trying to work their way up some corporate ladder in a company or putting in their time that, you know what I really want to do? I want to screw the next generation of people over. You honestly think people think that way? They don't. And trust me, when this young person here gets to be my age someday, God bless, hopefully they make it that far. I'll be curious to see where they turn out. What is their attitudes? Um, if they're sitting there saying life's terrible while they hold a $1,500 iPhone made with slave labor by Uyghurs in China, mined in cobalt mines in Central Africa by underage kids, trying to lecture me about the, consequences of modern living and how I ruin the future, laughable. But they're not entirely wrong. It's not that you have to go after the individual people because all of you young folks are going to be in that same boat one day and you're going to do the exact same thing. Guarantee it. You know how I know this? I'm going to show you here in a minute. Now, if you want to go after the system that creates the framework that does this, my last podcast, my video that I threw up, it was kind of talking about the terrorists, but the bigger overall theme of it was the United States has become hyper financialized. It's our single commodity. The old world of things from 1972 up until now, everything revolves around US debt. The ability for the American printer to basically generate debt that we would offshore to the rest of the world to go buy cheap baubles from places like China, Vietnam, Malaysia, India, so forth. That's the way the system was, and it concentrated wealth in places like Wall Street, Bill Ackerman, and all the various hedge fund managers and stuff. They're invested in it. Their whole livelihoods are financialized in a stock market, vast sums of money. Now, do you think that when they were young and in high school or even in college that they were thinking about how can I screw over the future? They didn't do so. They evolved through a system and a framework that eventually graduated that. To the credit of Trump, he wants to change that. Whether he can or not, that's another story to be seen. But it's the system that we've devised and created that sets up the framework for the wealth disparity. Believe it or not, J.D. Vance, of all people, actually did a big speech on this back in 2023. I think there was a conference or something he was giving talking about this because guess what? He came from Southern Ohio, which is part of Appalachia, kind of. He had a mother that was a drug addict and he did pull himself up by his bootstraps and put himself to college, became a tech bro. Now he's vice president. Do you think that's easy? Is there a measure of luck? Probably. But you just can't sit around online on Twitter all day bitching about how life's unfair to you. Guess what? Life's unfair to everybody. Few get lucky, but I don't know, was it like Mark Twain or someone that said, or Benjamin Franklin, the harder I work, the more lucky I seem to be. A lot of truth to that. So let's go take another quick look at something. Oh, and here's this whole kind of thread here. Stole our jobs, houses, pensions, the future. I am a despicable piece of crap. Obviously, you could tell. Okay. I just want to go over a couple of quick things. Now, personally, I think you Zoomers are fighting the wrong battle. Don't blame the boomers. blame what created the boomer sphere that we have today. Let's take a step back in time, shall we? This is anti-war. This is like the '60s protest. Look at all these folks. And this goes back even to stuff like the civil rights movement. Back when Bernie was getting arrested, he was one of these people out on the front lines. It was everybody, blacks, whites, Asians, everybody. We're out there. Look at all these young folks. I mean, they were serious. War erodes a great society. Yeah, I agree. I'm proudly anti-war. Peace, veterans, on and on. It was an amazing time in history. People would go out there, get thumped in the streets. Cops were bashing them over the head. And this was the thing, we had Kent State, we'll kind of get into that. Oh, here we go. We won't fight another rich man's war. Let that sink in. A rich man's war. Then it just goes on and on and on. And this is the hippies movement. This is the peace, love, so forth. Let's go back to Woodstock. I mean, now we're full on hippie here. Well, I don't think that's Woodstock. That's something recent. But when you look at the old things, just everybody, the folks that were dancing in the streets, kind of a thing. This is a very unique time. It's and it's never coming again. This is literally the peace, love. Don't trust anybody over 30. That was a slogan. When they would refer to things like the man, well, they were referring to the government, the police, and don't trust anybody over 30. I don't know why that one particularly sticks with me, but it's kind of funny. This was kind of the hippie moment. These were, I mean, all the things that Hollywood's done a zillion movies about. Then we had Berkeley, the free speech. I mean, these are, check it out. All those hippies, they were out there protesting free speech. You had the likes of Malcolm X and Kennedy, and this was that time in history. And what I'm kind of getting at here is here's another one of these iconic flowers. I always thought this might have been, can't remember if this was Berkeley or this was Kent State. And this is back when all the young hippies were putting flowers in the guns of the National Guardsmen. It's pretty powerful. To the credit of the people then, the civil rights movement, that was an organic thing to spread equal rights for everybody. I'd get behind that. Anti-war. I'm not a fan of war. I'm not a pacifist. Sometimes war is necessary. Haven't seen it being necessary in my lifetime, though. So, okay, that was an organic thing that started out on campuses. There you go. This was bottom up. And as I'm going to go to this next one, I kind of chuckled at this because this was something done by this person here. Let's take a listen. That's kind of the statement of its day. Let me go to this. Now, what I noticed this past weekend, I was looking at this. I heard Fox News. And I'll tell you what, Fox News is often just as annoying as. Oh, hang on a minute. Fox can be as annoying. Well, not as annoying as Rachel Maddow. I don't think there's anybody out in all of news media that's as annoying as Rachel Maddow. But they run a close. And they had a news segment there, Jesse Waters or some of them, talking about how the hands-off protest this past weekend was all manufactured. No, it wasn't. I mean, sure, there might have been a couple of AstroTurf things of people busting or something, but No, George Soros didn't buy the protest across the country. It just, trust me, turn on television any given day, half the media networks out there, newspapers are replete and filled with tens of thousands, millions of people that absolutely hate Trump. There's a reason there's a thing called Trump derangement syndrome. As we saw from that guy's post over there, that, to him, anything even MAGA remotely, he's equating with every mustache wearing hateful person from the 30s and 40s. It's, cultists and psychotics and the NAZ folks. They're off the chart. I mean, he's the devil incarnate. They genuinely feel that way. You don't got to bust them in. You ain't got to pay them people nothing, man. They're going to go down there for free. Hell, you get them a coffee, they'll probably double. But what I did notice about the crowds in here, check this out. I kind of have to laugh at this. I'm going through all the pictures and it's like, well, wait a minute. They're all gray hairs, man. These are all boomers. I mean, I'm looking at all of them in this photo. Photo after photo. It's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, here's a couple young people, maybe in their 20s or 30s. I'm looking through these photos and I'm looking closer. I mean, this just cracks me up. Look, it's a bunch of Karens and they're beta boys. The funny thing is, all these people were the hippies that were saying, don't trust anybody over 30. Don't trust the man. The government is the enemy. These were the people that were in the civil rights movement, the anti war protesters. These were the people getting their heads crushed in Chicago at the Democratic Convention and pushing things like free speech. Now, those very boomers are saying, hands off my state, hands off my bureaucracy. Elon Musk is an oligarch, as they say. Well, different than what? Jeff Bezos, who bought the Washington Post or the newspaper? I mean, really? He owns, you know, but which ones? Soros, Ackerman. I mean, the left is replete with billionaires. Zuckerberg, nobody had a problem with billionaires. How they even loved Elon. Until Elon all of a sudden said, yeah, for social things because his kid was trans or something. And that's when he went in with the whole Trump and MAGA thing. And all of a sudden, we watched these same blue haired Karens, all these people that went through their whole lives protesting against the government, you know, against billionaires and millionaires, the rich man. We saw this photo. I'm not going to go fight another rich man's war. Now these are the people saying, no, we can't leave Ukraine. No, we got to keep fighting Ukraine. We need to go to war in Iran. Uh, keep supporting Israel. He's taken down the stock market. These are all the people that they're invested in the stock market now. I mean, you want to talk about a complete 180. It's hilarious. So when I sit here and I'm thinking, okay, here's a bunch of people that were willing to get their heads beat in back in the day, in the 60s and into the 70s. If they were willing to go through all of that and then they turn out like this, what do you think this person here is going to turn out like? I mean, she's able to virtue signal here on X, on a platform of the person she obviously hates. She's telling people like me, who obviously I'm apparently on the top of the food pyramid of millionaires or something, I guess. I mean, her eyes, we're using blanket statements, all boomers or all Zoomers. I just laugh at this kind of a thing because, um, and again, it's not that Zoomers don't have a point. The deck is stacked against them. Houses are too expensive. It's difficult to go into 401k. The jobs left, strangely enough, kind of this is sort of what Trump's wanting to, and Bassett is wanting to kind of reorder. You don't have to like them to kind of agree with that agenda, but they're trying to focus more on the middle class in America. Are they going to be successful? Don't know. Have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. Could fail. Um, I'm telling you, learn how to live frugal. Learn how to live like a hillbilly. Um, learn how to squeeze a quarter to the eagle screams. Pinch pennies. Learn how to save. Learn how to go without. I don't have an iPhone. I bought it used for $230 on Amazon, and it's like 4 years old. Works fine. Does what I need it to do. Is it the next model? No, it isn't. Um, I got a feeling that and it's going to happen. I believe in the next 2 years, there's so much economic chaos out there that quite literally more people than ever have in my lifetime, except going back into the 70s and early 80s, back when stagflation was a thing. You're all of a sudden going to learn the importance of coupon cutting. You're going to learn solidarity with your fellow Americans when, guess what? Some of them wealthy boomers that had their whole pensions and stuff set in the stock market trying to squeeze out every nickel. Social Security's gone. A lot of them are going to end up there out on the street. You'll be sharing a room with your grandma because you can't afford it. She can't afford it. You'll all be equal because you'll all be impoverished. That's the world I guess some of these folks want. Um, hard times are going to be coming, and you better learn how to figure it out. Um, so I'll be curious to see this particular person here. Where are you going to end up with when you're my age? Are you going to be just like those boomers out there with a sign, criticizing those young, slacking kids, those meddling kids, or lazy, worthless kids, and they just don't get it, all their weird ways and tattoos and nose rings and blue hair and all that bullshit. Uh, it's hilarious just how the worm turns because I've watched those same hippies that went from getting their heads beat in turn into the very people that the young people they used to be despise. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of chat about that real quick because personally, I can't help it. I do find a little bit of humor in, I don't know, it's like the world's a circle or something, man. Things just seem to kind of, they say history don't repeat, but it rhymes. Sometimes it does repeat, So anyway, I thank you for stopping by. I just wanted to make this short and have a good laugh. Be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want, buy us a coffee over here. And better yet, throw some comments in there. You really want to drive the algorithm up, help us out. Throw some comments in there. Give us some suggestions on content in the future. But I'm going to try and do some more of these little one-off kind of question of the day kind of stuff as events unfold. But anyway, I thank you for being here, and you